to the family and loved ones and friends of Nick, John, and Tamira. May God grant their souls rest and comfort to each of you and your families. And my name is Father Chrysostom Mitchell, and I'm the Epimerios, or the Chaplain of Ministries, the second priest in Columbia, South Carolina, with Father Michael Platanis. And I just want to thank Father Paul Christie for giving me the opportunity to fill in while he's traveling. And so if you can please keep him and President Mary in your prayers, that would be a rich blessing. And if you could give me one moment, let me get my notes. And I appreciate your patience and love that you showed with me. I know it's a little times when you come into a different parish, there's slight different rhythms, and I appreciate the love that you've shown for me. Thank you. And in today's gospel, we see the story of 10 lepers that Christ comes upon, but from a distance, because at that time, leprosy was considered incurable. At that time it was, and that the people were unclean in that Jewish tradition, so they were kept outside the village and away from others so that they would not have the potential of getting infected. And so they were kept to themselves. And today, I have to admit, I was in India 20 years ago, and I came across people with leprosy. And it's a little bit, you do want to kind of pull back a little bit when you see someone coming with you. And this was one of the works of the church, the Greek Orthodox Church in Calcutta, that they would give out on Mondays food for those who could not work. So many of these people had TB, they had leprosy, all sorts of skin infections, and they were basically, there's in that country they have like a caste system, and these were the lowest of the low, and they were kept in very squalid conditions. And so the church, in its love, was giving out food for many of these people. It was around 300 or 400 people at the time that I was there. And they would come, and they would have those, like the plastic-type bags that you see like at IKEA, those big ones, but smaller ones. And they would just hold them in their forearm because they were missing hands, missing fingers, and parts of around their head. And so it was very, traumatic when you see those types of things, and that want to kind of pull back a little bit. So we see, though, that Christ simply yells out to them to go show yourselves to the priests. Because at that time, if you showed yourself to the priests, they're the ones who basically, I guess we'd say today, give you a clean bill of health. And so he says, no, show yourselves to the priests. And as they were on their way, they were healed. So how beautiful is that story that God performed that miracle. But what's the most shocking thing is not that they were healed, but that we see that only one person turned and offered thanks to the Lord when he recognized that he had been healed. So we kind of have to ask the question, and that's, I think, the message of today's gospel, is why does ingratitude exist? And I believe we see that from the very beginning with the time of Adam and Eve, when Adam took from the apple the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and he wanted to become God away from God, like a little God with a little g. And he didn't give thanks. He selfishly wanted to be a God. And so there was ingratitude there for the one who actually gave him existence and gave him life. And he broke that communion that existed between humanity and God. And then we know what happened is that he was cast out of the garden, and that Adam and Eve then had to toil. And even today, we see that this ingratitude exists even in our times. So we see then that every benefaction that we receive from others implies some type of obligation on our part. And that's the part that we forget, and the part that's difficult for us, because that means we have to humble ourselves a little bit. And in our way, we don't like to be humbled and have an obligation to someone else. And this is what is required, though, of us, because none of us exists alone as an individual, and that we exist collectively and in community. No one can say, I came into this world on my own, because you had a father and a mother. There was a woman and a man that created you and put you into this life. And then we have to thank them for everything that they've provided for us in this life, everything that we have. And it's important then that we teach this to everyone, our youth, our young people, our children, to be thankful even for the small things that we have and the limited things. Because we live in a society today on social media where our young people see people with, it seems like they have extraordinary and extravagant lives with material things that they possess, whether it's homes, cars, clothing, trips they take. And in other words, it leaves everyone feeling depressed. And you can see then, tracking teen depression, the increase of it, coincidentally, matches the adoption of social media. So we have to be thankful and recognize that whatever we have to be thankful for God for what we possess. And then that requires then that we have an attitude of gratitude. And that is then, when we get up in the morning, we don't even consider, we just get up about our day. We take it for granted that we're getting up and we have to start our day. We have to, get the coffee pot on, take a shower, get ready to go to work. We have a car that we're able to drive to work to. We have a job. And all those things have been provided because of those sitting to your left and to your right, people in front of you, behind you, people not inside this church. I got in my car today, and I don't know who created the heater, but I'm so thankful they did, because, being a Southern young man, it's cold when it gets into the teens. And so I'm trying to practice as well this idea of an attitude of gratitude for everything that we have. And so don't take it for granted then when you get up in the morning. I tell my young people even before they get out of bed, I said, I know sometimes it's hard to pray, but when you're still sitting comfortable in bed, make the sign of the cross. Thank God for a peaceful and undisturbed sleep. Thank Him for watching over your family, for having a pillow under your head, a roof over your head, food that you're going to eat that morning, and for the ability to be educated and to continue in this life. And then when you go at the end of the day, you have to wait until you get back into bed, say your prayers, okay, get back into bed, but thank God for everything in your day. And ask forgiveness for the things that you did wrong, and to ask God to watch over you and your family and your loved ones, your friends throughout the night, to protect them. And may God grant this attitude of gratitude to each of us. God bless you all.
Amen.